Okay, it's day 168 of a screenwriter's journey. Unfortunate news to report. This just in. When I do these screen recordings, I use that OBS software, and in a perfect world, I hit record and then I start writing. Excuse me, as I started out doing this day. And then when I know I'm going to step away from the computer for, a few minutes or some relatively short period of time, I pause the recording, and then when I come back, I restart it. There are some times when I know I'm done writing for a while that I completely stop the recording and then I start again, and so I have 2 files or 3 files or 4 files for any given day. On this particular day, I see that I've got day 168-1 or _1, which is what I'm recording right now. But then, unfortunately, I've got day 168_3, meaning that 2, I either mislabeled 3 and it's really 2, or something happened. And I'm sorry to report that something happened. I know this because the break between the 2 files, there's 3 pages of the script missing. So I don't know if that's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes of original writing. And this sounds really stupid, but it's kind of like sad that after all of this, I'm sure I've done it before in these previous 167 days, but it's kind of weird to think of all this time that I've recorded, now I've missed 3 pages worth of writing or rewriting or whatever I did during those pages, and I'll never get it back. So it's funny in a sad sort of way, or sad in a funny sort of way. But let's assume I get up to 170, which I know is on the shy end. I would say in general, even if I wrote an hour a day, that's 170 hours. And if I was getting paid $100 an hour, that would be not that much money now that I think about it. Okay, I'm going to have to rethink that business model. $1,000 an hour, I'd be getting $170,000 for this script. Well, how much would you sell your best script that you ever wrote for? For how much would you sell it? Let me restate that question. I wrote a script for a guy once, and he was going to pay me $5,000, and he only paid me $3,000, and he said he'd pay the other 2 later, which he never did. This was the movie. It was called Discovery on Blackbird Island. We went into production, and unfortunately, he ran out of money. I've talked about that sad saga before. He basically loved the script. He basically didn't follow it hardly at all. So it was euphoric and depressing, depending on what day of the week it was. Other than that, I got credit on a failed pilot, like a streaming pilot. I got credit for like script doctor work. That was a sad story too, because for whatever reason, they were more or less, the way I understand it, forced to go in production. And the woman who was writing it told me, we had some conversations, some emails. She goes, "I'm not really a writer." And I almost cried when I heard her say that, because it was evident in the script. The story was pretty good. Some dialogue was okay, but it was structurally not good. I made a lot of suggestions. I think I'd have to watch it again to see which ones they took, if they used any of my dialogue. But I came in way too late in the process to really make a difference. I just realized I didn't speed this up. Okay, so I guess it doesn't really matter because I wasn't commenting on the script, but I started to do the voiceover and I hadn't done the 500% speed up because I was so depressed at having missed my 168_2 section of the script that I described earlier. So as you read what I'm working on here, I'm up to page 68, which it seems like I was the other day. And the reason I'm not paying super close attention is because a little birdie has told me that some of this stuff will probably not make the next draft. So I don't want to spend an inordinate amount of time commenting on it. For some reason, my nose is a little congested. So how much would you sell? Let's start that question again. Write this in your comments. If you wrote totally on spec, a script that, it wasn't some crazy, outrageous sci-fi, fantasy, superhero, end of the world, apocalyptic thing. It was just a nice story, a love story or a drama or a comedy or a thriller or something. And it could be made for a reasonable amount of money, which could mean 50 million, it could mean 10 million, it could mean 2 million. And someone said, this reminds me of an episode of Taxi, that classic show. And someone said, give me your price. And if that price is right, I will buy the script from you. It was just a total buyout. You don't get any more money for rewrites. You don't get any points, anything. And if you quoted a price too low, the person would swoop in and buy it, and you would not get any money. If you quoted a price too high, the person would say, nah, pass. I would be overjoyed for a minute until I realized that I would be panicked that I would price it too high, and most likely I would underprice it. I'm trying to think of the scripts that I've written. Of course, you could do something like base it on the WGA minimums or whatever. And I don't know. I haven't looked at those in a long time, so I don't know what they are. They've never come into play for me, but that would be a super interesting experiment if someone they read your script and he or she called you up and said, wow, I love this. I want to make it. I want to buy it from you just outright. And I'm not going to give you a price. You have to give me a price. That would be crazy. Okay, let's see. Let me go back to commenting on the script a little before we run out of time today. I can't remember if it happened to him with our conscious or otherwise. So this, I've had this dialogue before, and apparently I'm not deleting it yet, which is unfortunate. I'm thinking of stuff that I'm writing right now today in the present tense, present day, and some of it is no better than this, but it's my first time through. So there. He was out the day they taught manners. So the problem with this is it's too cutesy, too clever, whatever. That's flippant dialogue. That is unfortunately a problem that I have in early drafts especially, but then even as I go on, I just need to dig underneath the surface. Even if they're these, big dumb characters like this, give them some backstory to make them interesting, to make them human, so someone could get their story and then justify what they're doing themselves. They could justify it, or the audience would go, okay, well, I see based on that this person would do this, even if it's a horrible thing. Think of Darth Vader. But then you've got the totally psychos like Silence of the Lamb guy. So I don't know that anyone would feel sympathy or empathy for him or toward him. All right, let's see here. So this whole thing with Rachel and Clyde and Ace is, let's face it, it doesn't deserve the cyber ink that I've given it. Then it's probably going to go away. So, and this is the helicopter. So now, I mean, the reveal is that Rachel, either she's working with them, she's working for them, they're working for her, something, but she's basically set this whole thing up, or she's part of a bigger story picture that has set this thing up. And did you see how I just jumped from one page to the next? I mean, it's possible. Actually, I jumped from one page to the next, but it looks like now I've come back. So all of my sulking could be in vain. Oh, glorious day. All right, let's see here. Who is Kenny? Who is Kenny? Let's hope Kenny's got good news. No idea. Kenny. Wow, that's weird. All right. So Holly calls. Rachel calls Holly. And this, don't have a whole long time to comment on this because the time is going to be up relatively soon. Well, I still got a little time. So the question that I'm asking myself as I'm writing this and as I'm commenting on it is, will the audience wonder why, when Ace and Clyde knocked Holly out and Jake and then did what they did, will she wonder, will Hogan wonder, will anyone wonder why they didn't take her cell phone? As simple as that. Why they left her alive, that's perfectly understandable. They obviously tied her up and everything. But I've gone back and forth on, should Rachel take her cell phone, or the thug guys, the whatever, should they not? Would Holly be suspicious at some point with someone else? Does that make her appear too stupid? Would they, because, don't tell anyone, but Rachel has done this on purpose because she's basically kind of running a scam. As you may know, she is the mistress mind. Is that a word, mistress mind, instead of master? You can't really say, well, you could say master. Nah, I don't know if you could say mastermind. Can't say master bedroom. So she is doing this to kind of goad Holly. She's playing with her. She's very deceiving. She's a Decepticon kind of a person. So, and this is another one of those things. Will the audience go, why did they leave her cell phone? Or won't they think about it? Won't they care? Will they understand that Rachel is playing her? So that's something that I'm definitely wrestling with. And then you get into the, how much would Rachel give away? Why is Rachel even doing this? Does this get into an overplot? I was going to say overplotification. I wonder if that's a word. Most likely it's not. Should I simplify this whole thing? So, I mean, I like this because it does make Rachel, as I said, the mistress mind, and she is the bad person. It's not the father. It's not the grandfather. It never was. It's always been her. It's always been her. And now I fear day 168 is over.